Hi, good afternoon all. Hi. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Charles Lim. I'm from Catholic Business Network. And thank you for your interest to know more about our leadership program. So maybe a bit about why we're doing this first, and then I will give a little bit of more information about the program. So when we talked in CBN a couple of years, 3 years ago, we had a leadership program that is more modular, meaning people come in and choose which one they wanted to do. We also have a leadership talk by people, experienced Catholic leaders who come and share their faith journey, as well as how they can actually navigate their career in workplace. But then we look around the market and we found out that you have basically two kinds of leadership program. The first one is, which is 95%, 98%, is secular. How to be better leaders, how to be successful in the workplace. And then you have a little bit, very small percentage talking about servant leadership. How actually you can learn from Jesus, how we can actually lead like Jesus in workplace. But usually there is no connection of the two. So it's actually separate. They talk about how to be servant leaders, like Chris Loney is one of the person that's actually wrote a lot, but there's not a lot of combination of the two. So actually there's none, at least in Singapore. So we in Catholic Business Network said that let's try something different. Let's combine the two. How can we come out with a leadership program that's centered on Jesus, but also trying to help our participants to be able to be successful at the workplace? So how can we get both? And that's basically the journey of this program. And we have been blessed because we have a lot of support from people. I'll share a bit later, but we have a group of volunteers who actually are very, very helpful to work with us on the curriculum. And then we have a panel from all the successful business leaders and public sector leaders that help us also to fine-tune the program. So people like Lim Boon Hang, like Lawrence Lien and some other people are helping us to really shape this. And we started the program this year. It's not a modular program. It is actually what we call experiential program, which is 16 weeks. Okay? And I'm going to share with you a bit of the curriculum later. And we just did the first one with 15 participants. We have one of them, actually, Sean, who is going to share a bit of testimony later, both good and bad, okay? So, all of you can know, what is the journey that he has. Now, we call this program a journey with Christ. Difficult to see there. How to be effective leader in the workplace, right? And it's based on a model. And the model is, the next slide, let me see. Can I do this? Okay. So the model is the one at picture there. If you look at the picture, it starts from the middle. How to read this? It starts from the middle. And if you look at it in the middle, it says Jesus. So it starts from Jesus. Our first module, after the opening retreat, is actually talking about how do we understand Jesus as our role model in the middle. So this program is all, the foundation is Jesus. How can we build a character? If you look at here, there is a self and Jesus. How can we, as oneself, as a leader, emulate the character of Jesus? How can we learn? So that's the first module. So it's a lot of examine about ourselves. How can we actually act like Jesus? Okay? The concept of servant leadership and all those. And then the next program is actually centered around the second half of the circle. You look at that, there's a big part of it called leading self, right? Leading self. And the leading self, basically, 3 modules to talk about it. More understand about ourselves. It starts with understanding competence. How do we know the talents from God? What exactly are our strengths? What the competence that we can use to be successful at the workplace, right? And then the second part of it is commitment. Once we know that God has given us a certain set of talents, right? Like the parable of talents, right? How can we commit to use this talent for ourselves to be successful in the workplace, but importantly also, use this talent to serve others? So we're actually going to examine about humility, that we keep learning, and about service. And then in each of the modules, we also give some of the specific tools, how to be actually use that in the workplace, right? So in this module, for example, we talk about how to actually train somebody, coach somebody, enable somebody from couldn't, people don't have anything, to can. They can really do the best at their work, right? And then the last part of leading self is communication. How do you engage people? Now, you got a talent. You committed that I'm going to build myself and build others. But how do you engage others? How can you show people? How can you talk to people? So in this first 3 program also, there is a self-assessment. We use a program from Maxwell. One of our faculty actually is a trainer from Maxwell. And he actually brought in the self-assessment, so you know yourself. And how do you communicate with others? Right. So this is the second part of our program. And then once you know how to lead yourself, now we go out there and lead others. And again, if you look at here, there is a leading others part, and also there are 3 parts of it. The first part, we examine into something that is lacking right now a lot in the workplace, compassion. How do you energize people with compassion? Okay. One of the interesting questions that came out early on in our program, the first batch, was during the opening retreat, I believe, or maybe the first module. I forgot now. I'm getting old. And it's a question of how do you manage the Judases at workplace? So if you meet a Judas, some people that stab you at the back, some people that actually created problem for you, how do you manage it? Okay? And this is where you need to have compassion, right? How do we bring that as Christian leaders, as Catholic leaders, into the workplace? So we examine that one. And then the second part of the leading others is capability. How do you empower others? So you enable them, you develop skills in them. Now how do you empower them? How do you use power? Power is a very dangerous commodity at workplace and anywhere else. How can we, Catholic and Christian leaders, manage power? Again, not just for ourselves, but also for the good of others, for service. Okay? And we spent a lot of time in this particular module. The faculty was Winifred. She is really wonderful in helping the participants to also acquire some skills. How do you actually empower people? How do you manage power? How do you help them to grow? How do you build teams? Right? And finally, on the last part, last module on leading others, we talk about envision, the context, understanding context where we are actually operating in the workplace. We may be working in a business, but actually we're working for the grace of God. So do we know what is God's plan for us? So if we actually start by understanding what's God's plan for us, how do we actually create a mission statement as a disciples of God? And then from there, how do we understand the context where we operate? And we learn about strategy. How do you win in the markets with a certain strategy of business, but at the same time, align it with the God's plan for us? Because if not, you know what we're doing in the workplace is all profit, right? So how do you make sense of it, right? How do you make sure you align that? When you do your vision for the business, how do you align it back to God's plan for you? Then we talk about how to build capability to win in the market, which is more secular part of it. Right? And then we end the whole program with the last module, which is the circle out there. It's in purple color, if you could see. It's called mentoring. So we learn about what is Christian mentoring, what is Catholic mentoring. How do you mentor and being mentored? Because in this program, aside from the classroom so-called discussion, we also provide mentors to each of the participants. So there are generous people around in Singapore, experienced business leaders actually offer themselves as a mentor. And the mentoring actually doesn't stop now. It actually, we finished the program 13th of November, but the mentoring is happening another 6 months because we're talking about serving Christ at work. So once now you bring the skills that you learn, bring the reflection that you learn, and then you go out. And as we close the program with a closing retreat, we actually talk about also Catholic social teaching. How do you actually align? as you go back to the workplace, how do you align with, the social Catholic teaching? We also help people to understand discernment. We use Ignatian discernment because our spiritual director actually is Father Colin Tan SJ. So he brought us the Ignatian discernment. How do you discern? When you make a major decision in your business, how do you discern that you make the right decision, right? If you have to decide between the profit and the good of people, how do you make that call? How do you balance the two? So we give discernment, okay? And the whole main program of this is actually there is what we call the spiritual journey using SPAT. It's called SPAT. Scriptures, prayers, examine, and discernment. These are the tools, spiritual tools that we give to all the participants. We encourage them to do this SPAT every single time before or after the program, after the session. So how do you link yourself to scriptures? Know more about the word of Jesus. You cannot be, trying to do what Jesus wants if we don't listen to him through scriptures. How do you do prayer? Talk to Jesus. How do you examine yourself? Okay. How do you examine your day? How do you look at your day, your actions? And then for big decisions, major dilemma, how do you discern? How do you, make decision? So this is the SPAT module that we do. We also offer the participants, if they don't have it, spiritual director or spiritual guide that CBN actually through Errol, our executive director, give them so they can actually have that. And that spiritual guide also is not linked to the program. You can have that spiritual guide forever, as far as you continue that journey. Right? So that's an overall picture about our program. This is an experiential program, 16 weeks. It's basically helping us to learn how to turn ourselves from the men and women of the world, which is what the secular world wants us to, men and women of virtues. And then put Jesus in the middle of our leadership. And at the same time also learning how to be successful in the workplace. Now, let me now probably show you the curriculum itself, and if Elvin can help me. So this is a program curriculum. You see, the introduction is a one-day retreat. Father Colin led us, on that one. He will still lead us. And then there are basically 3 areas that we are focusing on, which is a personal encounter with Christ, inspiring faith at work and life, and business as a vocation. It's an introduction, right? And then, of course, we then give an introduction on Christ-driven leadership, which is what I've just done to you, okay, in more details. And then the module 1 is building Christ-like character. Lydia Lim is a journalist. If you are reading Straits Times, you would see actually on Sunday, on some days, you go into the column. Lydia Lim is actually writing a lot of articles. And it's talking about servant leadership and being Christ-like at work in the 21st century. And we're trying to introduce now SPAT. Remember I told you about SPAT. SPAT was introduced in the first module because this is a foundation of our experience and journey with Jesus. Then you go to the second part. You can read there, their behavioral analysis, God's given talents. And as you could see here, aside from the secular stuff, like we'll talk about Johari window, we'll talk about competencies, we also talk a lot about people in the Bibles that we can learn from, the leaders in the Bibles that we could learn from, right? The conversion of Paul, and all those is in there, right? Even from the Old Testament. Can you keep moving it up, Irvin? Then this is commitment to enable. We talk about faith and Christ humility. We learn about reverse coaching, which is again a more secular part. The communication, again, if you look at some of the things that we put in there, right? So to give you a kind of picture of what exactly you are learning. Keep going, please. Compassion. We talk a lot about the Beatitudes. Okay? In Module 5, we talk Beatitudes. Module 7, we talk about Beatitudes. Because Beatitudes is basically almost like a blueprint, our strategy, right? Jesus' strategy for us to live in this world is the Beatitudes, right? So we spend a lot of time talking about that. Okay? then capability, context, knowing, doing, committing to God's plan, and then finally Catholic mentoring. And we close it with one-day retreat. I mentioned about social entrepreneurship, Catholic social teaching. Okay? We talk about that. And then Ignatian discernment. And finally, a tool for all our participants to use it. Now, before I go and give the time to our friend Sean to give some testimony, I want to show you some of the people that have been involved with us. If you can go back, on the previous one. Sorry, Alvin, the previous one. Yeah, can you go up? Sorry, down. Keep going down. Keep going down, please. Keep going down. Keep going down. Yep. Okay. So these are the spiritual directors. We have two, Father Colin Tan SJ, and then Father Stanley Goh. I don't know you know him or not. He actually just, he was, I think, in July, right? Errol, he became a priest. Yeah, July this year, and then he was actually sent to Kuching to be the principal of one of the schools there. But during his time here, very short time, he actually helped us a lot in creating, the spiritual foundation of our program, right? And then you have Lydia Lim, like I mentioned, is SPH, a journalist. And then Brother Andrew Sung is the Maxwell trainer. It's very, very active. How many of you have gone through CER? You know the guy with the baritone voice, Andrew Sung? That is Andrew, Bro Andrew. A lot of people know him from the CER, right? It's really wonderful. Keep going up, please, Irvin. Then you have Simon. Simon is a lawyer. He's actually doing the compassion. And then Winifred is a very, now he's very, very humble to say all these things, but he's actually very, very active. I think she's now the Cannes Film Festival director. He's doing a lot of things, actually. Used to be the head of AWARE, right? So we come with a lot of experience. And then Alex is right now a practitioner in the banking industry. He's also very active, in the church. And these are the advisory panel. So we have Lawrence Chong. Lawrence, if you know, Lawrence was our Singapore representative, I believe, in the Interfaith Word Committee by the Pope. So he is a wonderful person. And then there's Peter Lam, Lawrence Lian, Lim Bun Hang, Ui Bun Hu from the port, the Jurong port. Andrew Sung, Frank Wong, Chris Wu. All those people are very, very generous in giving their time to help us to shape this. Yeah. So with that, I want to ask first, is there any question that you have right now? Okay, if not, I will ask Sean actually to give us a little bit of testimonial about his experience with us. Sean, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Erwin, would you like me to use this mic? Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. Actually, I'm pretty excited to be here because when Errol approached me saying, Sean, could you give a 5 to 10 minutes testimonial of your experience from this program? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because the last 16 weeks, in fact, the whole journey has been quite a bit of a life-changing one for me. And I can say to you life-changing only because of what I have experienced, not just through the program, but also in my day-to-day life, as well as in my workplace. And it's also very interesting that God made the time for me to be here right now because Charles knows this, Errol knows this. My schedule is packed from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. So I even have a PCR test to go for after this because I'm flying off this Friday. So I'm really thankful, God bless, to be here to share with all of you my experience. The funny thing was also when I came across this program, It was on LinkedIn. So I'm a really regular user on LinkedIn social media platform. And when I saw this, it sort of called out to me. And I got onto a Zoom call with some of the faculty members somewhere in May this year. And it was still a very 50-50 thing to me, because I was just wanting to inquire what's so different about this leadership program or this training program compared to many other secular training programs out there. And I'm in a multinational corporate training organization, so I can easily compare between the secular training programs. So when I just had this thing of wanting to go through the program, I kept an open mind. I told myself, let me approach this from a spiritual point of view. So I was very attracted to the part where all the faculty members could relate every single module to something in Scripture. So whenever there's a module, and we had Tuesday night classes, so the not so good part about the program was it's every Tuesday for 16 weeks. From 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Scary to me, because it's a commitment, and it's right after work. Most of us are jumping in the sessions at 6:30, sometimes 7. Sometimes our work delays us. So I sometimes I'm guilty of joining it at 7:30 p.m. sometimes. But still, I look forward to it. Something about it make me look forward to Tuesday night and wanting to be with the group. So it was not just about the faculty members. Each of us, my classmates, we came from different sectors. Some came from the non-profit, the social service sector. Some were entrepreneurs, and some of us are in corporate. And we had a mix of each other's understanding. So if I'm not mistaken, 2 of our classmates are Christians. The rest were Catholics. I myself, I'm a cradle Catholic. But the thing about me, just now one of the modules that Charles was going through, just now Charles, that was an excellent refresher to everything. In fact, when Charles was doing that 15-20 minutes presentation, I was literally, wow, it's like a recap of everything I've learned, and I'm glad that I'm putting some things to practice. So SPED, S-P-E-D, Scripture, Prayer, Examine, and Discernment. So one of the biggest takeaways for me is discernment. I never knew of this term before this last 16 weeks. But ever since I knew about discernment, and Father Colin, when he introduced it to us in the retreat in July, the full-day retreat, I was very amazed, because it was in St. Ignatius Church. And during a few parts of the day, we got out to reflect on the decisions that we make as a leader or in our daily lives. Even if we're not a leader to teams and organization, we are still leaders of our own lives. Whatever we do, our words, our actions, impact the people around us, whether we realize it or not. So I did not realize that the words and actions I use impact my family, impact the social media that I'm on. So ever since July, when I started the first module, one of the things that I was doing was I was actively journaling my journey and taking photos of certain of the lessons learned. So some of the Zoom sessions that we had, I screenshot, I posted on LinkedIn, and I shared my own thoughts through this whole process. And because of that, I knew that many, many Christians on LinkedIn and social media platform started to respond to me. And they started to ask me, what's the program they are going through? How has it changed your life? And another testimonial that's directly as a result of this program is the team that I'm leading. I asked my staff in the last 2 weeks for performance review. And I asked them, can you give me feedback of this year? And some of them told me this, say, Sean, this year you're a lot more calmer. You don't burst out as much anymore. So one of the things I took back was compassion. A really important part was whenever there's something that probably explodes, and I'm sure in our day-to-day lives we have problems, challenges, anything that gets us frustrated, angry, and emotional. I would just stop right there. I take a deep breath, and I even tell my staff, let me reply you on this problem tomorrow. And I'll bring it to the Lord that night, and I'll pray. I'll just go to a quiet corner, or I could be taking a walk. Or I could be at the gym. And after that, at the night when I'm walking home, I would offer it. I'll just talk to God, and I never used to do this. I'll talk and say, God, today I had this problem at work. This staff made me really angry. And she wants to resign, and I just feel like letting her go. So there was this one scenario that I had one staff that really resigned, and she pissed me off so badly, But I prayed for the right words to say to her the next day. And I had a Zoom call with her, and we had a video call. She refused to turn on the video. It's okay. I turned on my video because I wanted her to see my expression. And I shared with her. I said, hey, I prayed about it. And I think that what you say makes sense. And then I went on with the conversation. She stayed on. Today, she's one of my best staff. Today, we have one of the best communication that we had. And if I had not practiced discernment or prayer, I wouldn't have achieved the result. So I think there are many things I can share about the program. This is just one aspect that changed the way I do things and the way the Lord has opened up many opportunities for me and many, many more journeys that I have. What I can say is the mentorship program is also really good. I am very blessed. Charles is my mentor. Each of us, we get assigned different mentors throughout the program based on our background, our industry, and so on. And, we have the autonomy to also lead our mentors by saying, okay, this is what I would like to do. This is what my next year's plan is. And how can we work together? Or how can you guide me on this? Am I on the right path? So one of the things is that we're not just students, and we just go through it. It becomes like a relationship, and we journey together as Catholics or Christians. So it's not a very traditional outside training program that you can find. I really owe it to this whole program to change the way I see things, the way I do things, the way I act. It's always God first. Everything is God-led. Nothing is me and myself anymore. In the past, it was always like that. And I think that the Lord has really guided me well on this. So thank you for the faculty members. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Errol, Irvin, every one of you who have put this program together. Next year, we're going to have the cohort number 2. So I'm actively promoting. Already doing it in social media. Some people already have expressed interest for next year's program, just waiting for dates. And I believe that, some of us that are alumni or students from this first batch, we had a gathering last Saturday, cycling and brunch. We're going to catch up again next January. I think this is a good group, good community. When we came together, just one final thing. When we came together on Saturday, a gathering, we talked about 2020 coming to 2021. How has it changed us? And every one of us shared about how God put us in a form of situation somewhere in 2020. I went through a bad time as well. But it was then that I found God, and it was then that He led me to this program, and all of us had very similar journeys. I don't know, if you are sitting here in the room, people like this, I think this is the program to be in. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you. I think, rather than we continue talking, I just want to close with one part, and then we can have a dialogue with all of you. I think we always say in CBN that there is no director of the program. The director of the program is the Holy Spirit. So all of us is just tools to actually, do all this, right? So Holy Spirit is the one that actually the director of the program. So if you are joining this program, remember that this is something that we're trying to do. And our vision is actually my vision is 5 years from now, we have a group of Christian leaders, Catholic and Christian leaders, that is out there, like Sean, like all, his contemporaries, that actually go out there, and then we call it evangelize at the workplace. Not through words, but through deeds, but through the things that they do. Like what Sean said, change the way you deal with your people. That is what we believe is very, very strong. And then we also believe they will pay forward. So this group will keep bringing more, developing more leaders with, again, Holy Spirit as a director. So that is the vision that we have, with this program. So I'm going to stop now and see for next year. We don't have the details yet, so I'm looking at Errol right now. But it's definitely, maybe Errol, you can say something about what is the plan for the second batch.
Yeah, so basically I think we're going to have the program sometime in March, April to start off. Or last year we did, this year we did in July to November. So we probably will do it earlier. So stay tuned, and if you guys are interested, give us your details, your email, your name and email and contact. We'll get in touch with you as soon as we launch the program. So the intention is to launch it sometime March, April, maybe for 16 weeks. So we don't need to do it in the second half. This year we did it because the program was not ready. We only got ready sometime in May.
Thank you, Errol.
And we do it on Zoom as well as physical at Catholic Center. So we had a few physical sessions, but then we have, because of regulations, we have to go back. So we have a combination, and we feel that we should do a hybrid, a mix of each, so that participants get to know each other, interact, know the faculty as well. But then the Zoom sessions are also quite good, because we can have breakouts and we have a day-long opening retreat, a day-long closing retreat.
Thank you, Errol. Thank you. So you give us your contact, and then we'll send you all the details. And actually, the Zoom, interestingly, I found out something. I told Errol about the Zoom. During this pandemic, Zoom was actually refreshing. You know why? Because I could see the faces of people. Like, face to face, I can't see all it with this, mask. So it's very refreshing to see the face of people. Now, I think we have time for one or two questions. Anybody have any questions or comments?
So you can also scan this QR code and you'll get that whole document.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so make sure you do that before you leave.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
Because I engaged the organization yesterday, Cbn Connect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than this, normally, maybe now I don't talk about like pre-pandemic, like what other things we do.
I think the best is
How many years?
Yeah, so CBN has been in existence since 2008. Initially, it started off as a sort of a business network, like of business owners coming together, entrepreneurs. That's why it's called Catholic Business Network. But actually, it's completely changed over the last few years. We now are doing only programs to serve the workplace, so for working adults. So programs such as this, programs such as career counseling. Then we do talks, business leader talk, which is My Journey series. We have industry groups, which is called Cbn Connect. We meet regularly with financial services, technology, different industry groups meet together. We have a Lenten retreat for all our working adults. And and then we have fundraising through golf as well as through Christmas dinners, because we have to raise our own funds. So essentially it's a group of, we bring together working people for helping them live their faith in the workplace. Inspiring faith at work is our vision. So that's what CBN is. We have about 2,200 people on our mailing list, working adults who attend our programs regularly. So do join our mailing list. It's on our website. And if you're interested in this program, just give Irvin your details and we'll get back to you when we launch. Okay.
Can you please elaborate further on the individual mentorship program and what does it entail?
The mentorship program, right? Okay, so the mentorship program, it's basically a one-on-one program where CBN actually provide you with an experienced Catholic or Christian leaders. Right now it's all Catholic leaders that actually will guide you in your journey in two things. One is applying the learning. Second one is in your faith, journey as well. How do you link the two? So what usually we do is we expect the mentor and the mentee actually have a session once a month, depending on what they need. And then they usually talk about the real issues that the mentee have, and the mentor will help. However, having said that, our mentoring program, as we keep saying to the participant or the mentees, is not about I'm telling you what to do. This is still a journey. So it's actually more like, on a horizontal basis. Okay, I showed them in the I think closing retreat, from Simon Sinek talking about mentor to mentor. This is not mentor to mentee. This is a mentor to mentor. So I also learn as much as Sean is learning, throughout the mentoring program. And we introduce the mentor usually at the middle to the end of the program. Okay? And then this mentoring session will continue for another 6 months after the program. And then we actually say it could be forever. It's up to them to decide. So if they found that, it is helpful for them, both of them are actually willing to continue, they can continue until they believe that, maybe the mentoring program is not necessary anymore, then it's become friendship probably, right? So is that answering your question? Thank you. Do we still have time for a last question? Okay, last question. Any last question? I was here 2 days ago in the Canberra Festival.
Registration-wise, is that costly?
Sorry?
Is that costly?
Yeah, there is a... My math is not very good.
We charge a nominal fee of $500 just to cover our costs. I think we keep the fee the same.
Okay.
By the way, the cost is actually not for kind of so-called profit, because all our faculties are they are very generous. Actually, they're doing it partly for volunteering. So it's more to cover our event, costs and stuff. Logistics.
Rent venues and some logistics. Any other questions about CBN or about?
You all had that networking session or?
We don't have physical because of the pandemic. So we have the Cbn Connect on Zoom, but we intend to do it physically when things settle down. So industry groups basically. So banking and financial services, IT, technology, telecoms, things like that. So we created a group for music and arts as well. So the first, Corinne May was the first person who did a sharing. So you can go to our YouTube channel. You'll see all our events last 2 years. We've all it's all video recordings are available. And watch Corinne May's testimony. It's really amazing. So, and we've got people from financial services talking, different industries. So go and have a look at our Catholic Business Network Singapore YouTube channel. You can go from our website as well, www.cbn.sg. Any other questions?
No, thank you again for being with us.
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you, in our program, any programs that CBN has. But thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So if anyone's interested in the leadership, just give your details to Erwin, and we'll contact you next year when we announce the program. Yeah. Thank you, and thanks, Sean. That was great.